welcome back. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. So the only thing for you to do today, as of right now at least, is to open up Google Classroom and make a copy of your digital workbook, Force in Motion, lessons 6 and 7. Okay, so let's go over there. Right, so you should see number 14, Force in Motion, lessons 6 and 7. That's what we're going to be focusing on this week. Today we'll be doing lesson 6, and then for the remainder of the week will be lesson 7. And we're not going to be doing a Nearpod today or later on in the week because the lessons don't really require one. So take another moment to get this workbook into your computer as a tab so that you can bounce over there when you have a chance. Okay, and then you can just leave on this note, and you'll just be looking at the Zoom today. So I'll give you one more minute to just get your workbook open and then get settled to pay attention to the lesson. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, so scientists and engineers ask questions and carry out investigations to improve their understanding about topics they're interested in or to improve their designs. Today, we're going to read about some designs that engineers worked on to help people improve their lives. Dr. Gonzalez sent an article that may help you understand how the same thrust or force could have affected the pod so differently. So we're going to be reading about wheelchairs today, which might seem a little bit off topic, but it does relate to our pod. So the article is not about space pods, it's about designing wheelchairs for different types of people and activities. You're going to use what you learned about different types of wheelchairs to help you figure out what could have happened to the pod. Remember, in this class, we use active reading approach when we read. So science reading can be especially complex, and it's important to read science texts actively so that you really understand what you read. Active reading helps you pay attention and learn when you read. So remember, when you're active reading, you are constantly stopping as you're reading and to comprehend what it is that you're reading. So sometimes we can fly through an article, and by the end of it, we can sit there and say, I actually have no idea what it is that I just read. And by active reading, you can stop every paragraph or every few sentences to comprehend or digest the information that you're reading. Being an active reader also means annotating your text, so marking the text and writing notes in the margins. So the following slides show how an 8th grade student named Roberto made annotations on a digital version of the Designing Wheelchairs for All Shapes and Sizes article. Now, we've actually seen Roberto's work before. Remember back when we were doing the energy unit, I can't remember which specific, oh yeah, it was about energy inventions, and they showed us some screenshots of things that Roberto did. So this will just be kind of a refresher of how to actively read, and then you guys will be reading. So we're going to see what he was thinking about when he was reading by making annotations, and that's an important part of the active reading approach. Okay, so by looking at Roberto's annotations, you'll learn more about how to annotate to show your thinking and some strategies that you can use, such as making connections, asking questions, and making questions deeper. Okay, so we're going to follow along. You can follow along in your article if you would like. You should have the link in your digital workbook. So I'm going to show you where to find that. So you can follow along here by clicking on this link. The benefit of using this link is that this is the interactive version of the article. So you can press the play button, but don't do that just now because we are going over the annotations, but you will do this in a minute and you're gonna have lots of time during class to get this done. So don't feel rushed to start now. But I'm just showing you some of the features of this. So remember that you have this play button that will help you follow along. And if you would like, you can use this. You can split your screen. You can have this open as well as the Zoom while we go over some of Roberto's annotations, okay? All right, so let's go back to our presentation slide. Okay, so you can also add your own annotations, but I don't recommend that because you're going to be reading it yet. So Roberto began by reading the title and the first 5 sentences of the article aloud. So remember, you always want to look at the titles. You want to go through and look for subtitles. So he noticed that the title said, "Designing Wheelchairs for All Shapes and Sizes." So just by reading the title, I have a really good understanding of what this article is going to be about. Now we're going to read the first 5 sentences or just, your first paragraph, right? So the first paragraph says, "People who use wheelchairs come in all different shapes and sizes. Children and adults, tall, short, big, and small, and so do the wheelchairs they use. Some wheelchairs have motors and others are operated by hand. People who use wheelchairs do all kinds of different things. Wheelchair users may go to school or work in an office. They may sing in a rock band, take their dogs to the park, compete in races, or lead a parade through city streets." So here in this article, I'm gonna model for you my active reading. So I'm stopping after reading that first paragraph and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so right now in this paragraph, they're talking about all of the different ways that, or all of the different types of people that have wheelchairs. So I'm going to infer that the information to come probably has to do with modifying wheelchairs to meet the specific needs of these wheelchair users. And we can actually relate this to our project in our STEM class. Remember, we were talking about target users and the specific needs that certain groups of people have. So, one wheelchair does not fit all. There's all different kinds of people. So each person with a wheelchair is going to maybe need something different than somebody else because they do different things. They're involved in different things. So that is my inference, or that's me actively reading or, comprehending what I've read so far. But let's just see what Roberto has to say about it. So he reads the sentence, excuse me. "Some wheelchairs have motors and others are operated by hand." So this sentence made him wonder why there are differences between wheelchairs. So he recorded a question about the sentence. Why? Okay, so he did this. This is a screenshot of his. So he highlighted some wheelchairs have motors and others are operated by hand. He asked why. His annotation was a little bit more basic. I already have an understanding of why wheelchairs have motors and some are operated by hand, but that's the point of reading, is that everybody comes to an article with different background. So just to show you how he did this and refresh your memory, what you do if you'd like to annotate is you just highlight whatever it is, and then from here you can click highlight. And I just did this by clicking and dragging, and then letting go of the mouse clicker or whatever when I wanted to stop highlighting. So I'm going to click highlight, and then he changed his color to, I think, like this baby blue or something. So you can change it based on the types of things that you annotate. I usually like to use all different colors because especially if I have to end up highlighting quite a few things in the article, I want certain colors to stand out. So I might mark make the yellow color questions. I might make my little turquoise color over here just things that I wonder about. I might make this baby blue color, I don't know, something else, maybe connections to other things that I've read in the past. And the reason that that'll help me is if and when I come back to this article and I need to look at my annotations, I can quickly just look for my color coding if I'm looking for something specific. And that will narrow down the information that I have in my article that I've annotated. And I use this strategy in college a lot when you guys go to high school, and if you decide to move on from there with your education, it's a really good strategy to use because you'll be using textbooks a lot. You'll be buying your own textbooks that you can actually write in. You know, right now you guys have textbooks that you're not supposed to write in. But when you go to college, you will have the freedom to write in them so long as you don't rent your textbooks. And that's a really good strategy to use when you're going through and reading your textbook. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna delete that. And we're gonna go back to our lesson here. Oh, I didn't show you how to make the note. So you go here, and then if you want to, you click note, and then what he did was he just said, why? Oops. Why? And then you click save. Okay, and that's pretty much it. All right, now let's go back to our presentation. Esteban, could you, if you have a question, can you add more detail? I'm not sure what means. Okay, so asking questions is an important strategy that skilled readers use to check their understanding. Asking deeper questions might mean taking a simple question such as how or why and adding more focus to it. So Roberto made his question more specific. So that was actually going to be one of my criticisms of his annotation was instead of just asking why or how or what, add more detail. So what is it exactly that you're asking? So why what? How what? Okay, so let's see his revision. He revised his question so that it focused on the topic of designing wheelchairs for different activities, which is the focus of the article. So let's see over here what we can see that he added. So how are the differences designed to help make wheelchairs better for each activity? Okay, good. So instead of just asking why or how, he made his question more specific by adding detail. Okay, so Roberto read this sentence. Dr. Rory Cooper knows all about designing wheelchairs. He's an engineer who works to improve wheelchair safety, comfort, and usefulness. This reminded him about something from the science class. So now I'm assuming he's going to make a connection, which is a different kind of annotation. And notice how he also used a different color. So maybe Roberto uses the same strategy as me. So before he used the color baby blue for a question, and now he's connecting, so he's using a different color. So he highlighted the information and then he added a note. So the note that he added was, we learned about other kinds of engineers in science class. Okay, cool. So he made a connection to stuff that he's already learned before. Roberto used many different strategies as he read the article. He asked questions, made connections, and highlighted words that he didn't know. He knew that reading actively and making annotations would help him understand the text. You should also use these active reading strategies when you read. Okay, so now we're going to be transitioning into you actually going through and reading and annotating the article, but let's just review our active reading guidelines. And while we're reading the guidelines, I want you to consider how you plan on using these guidelines when you read today, okay? So number one, think carefully about what you read. Pay attention to your own understanding. Number two, as you read, annotate the text to make a record of your thinking. Highlight challenging words and add notes to record questions and make connections to your own experience. Number three, examine all visual representations carefully. Consider how they go together with the text. This is actually the first thing I like to do. I've told you this before. I like to go through, look at the pictures, read the captions. And finally, number four, as you read, discuss what you've read with others to help you better understand the text. Okay, so as we went through the guidelines, how do you think you're going to use them as you read today? Okay, so you're going to read and annotate the Designing Wheelchairs article. Then you're going to write a summary of the article in your workbook. So before you get started, I want to show you what that's going to look like. So you should have the link to the article. You can listen to and read the information in here, but don't forget to go through and look at the information first. So look at the pictures, read the captions, And look for subtitles. It doesn't look like this article has any subtitles. You just have pictures to look at, and that will help you get a better idea of what it is that you're about to be reading. Okay, we've already talked about annotating. So then I'm going to go over to my article. So once you, I'm sorry, my workbook. When you're done reading the information, you're going to write a summary in this box here. We haven't done this yet in this class. So this is going to be, you know, probably pretty interesting for me because I've noticed in the past that some of us don't really have the skills to write a summary yet. So when you're writing a summary, you're not just copying and pasting information. Remember, that's called plagiarism. You're bringing up in the first sentence, you're talking about the main idea of the text, include some important information, and wrap it up. This should be about 5 sentences long based on the size of the article. And the annotations that you make in your article will really help you summarize. If you don't make any annotations, it's going to be more difficult for you to go back and look at the article and decide what it is that you want to say in your summary. So you could even use, you know, a different color to show like, this is something that I want to talk about in my summary. But remember not to use the same words the way that they're written here. You want to rephrase things so that they're in your own words. There's another resource here to help you with your summary. So if you want, you can click on this, and this will take you to some characteristics or criteria of a good summary, okay? So you can just use this first page here. This is an Avid strategy. All right. Now, so this is all you have to do today. Read and annotate the article and then write a high quality summary, okay? All right, so, okay, the end of the period is 11:30. So you have quite a while to complete this. You have about 45 minutes to read, annotate, and write your summary. Okay, so it's more than enough time. If you finish early and you need something to do, you have options. The first thing that you could do is work on your project for our STEM class if you're behind, or you can do an extra credit activity, okay? Remember that I write this information into the chat, so if you forget what to do, you can refer to the chat. I will write it all out in there, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut myself off. You guys can start.